Lancaster Mennonite is a system made up of 5 campuses and based on 3 pillars: faith, community, and education. Since the founding of Lancaster Mennonite, faith is a critical and most important piece of what happens here.
I think a distinctive of Lancaster Mennonite that we try to really instill in everyone, in students and parents, is that number 1, that they're loved by God. Number 2, that they learn what it means to love themselves. And then number 3, how they can then use that to love other people and impact the world.
For me, it created an environment where I could think about my faith and why it mattered, and explore academics, explore music, explore sports, in an environment that also caused me to apply my faith. And I want that to be an experience for kids, to be able to say, this is what I do and this is why it matters. If you can't apply your faith to your life, it doesn't matter. And so if kids can start to do that now, just imagine the kind of impact they can have when they're older.
The faculty and the staff members that we have at Lancaster Mennonite are well guided by God.
The whole reason I wanted to become a teacher is because I wanted to be able to infuse my faith in my everyday life and in my work.
From day one, I've enjoyed being able to relate to the students on like a spiritual level instead of just teaching my subject, and being able to get a little bit more personal, and I feel like I have that freedom here.
I really enjoy learning about myself, learning about students. I think here at Lancaster Mennonite, students are open to talk about faith, open to talk about things they're struggling with, and I really value those conversations that we have. And that's pretty much daily. I'm blessed with that.
You have this development of faith, but so many values that come with it. And we have a whole list of faith statements, but it's everything from prayer and peace and service and care for one another that's embodied in these faith practices. It's changed significantly over time from a Mennonite perspective. Today we accept students from all over the world and all kinds of faiths.
Something that I think Lancaster Mennonite is starting to focus on more is trying to recognize the diversity that we have religiously and trying to celebrate that diversity more. And I think that's been encouraging to me as a teacher, that I feel supported in that way.
Everything that we do before we begin our days, we're praying constantly for the growth and the well-being of these children. But not only for the children, but we're also praying for wisdom for ourselves, to know how to help them in their life and to lead them in the paths in which God chooses for them, but also to give them the guidance and the knowledge to choose their own paths in life too, with God's guidance.
I am motivated more than anything by watching people learn and watching their eyes light up and being excited to take learning into their own hands. I think you have to love something first, and then you want to learn about it, and that's what I try to do with my students every day.
I get really excited about the holistic approach to education because we are working with the student in multiple ways. One of Lancaster Mennonite's strongest assets is teacher interaction with students. Teachers, counselors, principals are some of the best I've seen at walking alongside students. And that doesn't matter what age. They're invested in the education of their students. They're invested in the well-being and the faith development of our students. And they're going to take the time before school, after school, during the day to address students.
Every day I look forward to being with youth. Being with kids is what excites me. In life, it gives me energy. They are my passion. I love connecting with them. I love hanging out with them. I love teaching with them. I love learning with them. I love kids.
My favorite part of the day, teaching at Lancaster Mennonite, is really just the interactions I have with students. Any chance I get to kind of have a meaningful, deep conversation with students, that's exciting to me.
Everyone chooses to be here for a reason, and that comes through in the way they teach, how they interact with students, how they interact with me, and it's an environment I love to be in.
The one thing that I feel that is so special and sort of like a hidden secret about Lancaster Mennonite is the fact that every single student is cared for and nurtured by someone else who wants to be here, who has a deep love for children, but also a deep love for the educational process. Maybe the biggest group of people that inspire me to want to grow and to have that desire to better myself are indeed my children in my class.
Our student body is this picture of society and our community at large. We have people from many different countries, people from many different racial and ethnic backgrounds, people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, people who are of different faiths, and it creates this opportunity to learn from one another, and it also creates a community like no other.
At our campus, about half of our students are students of color out of 120 students. That's really significant. So that's something that we take a lot of pride in, that we work hard to commit to continuing, and is definitely something that surprises people when they walk through our building.
I also think it's a community that seems to work together very well. You see it amongst the students, and I think you see faculty who want to be the glue within that, kind of just create the space where students can find each other, build each other up, and ideally, find success in things, but also build up personally and spiritually if we really are doing our job right.
My students are very aware of the world around them, and they're aware of other people, and they have kind of a focus on how can we help others, and I think that's something that I haven't seen necessarily at every school. Sometimes when there are students that don't seem to fit in, I've had classes that are very willing to invite those kind of students into their circles of friends, to play games with them. Part of it is because of our faith. That's one reason why it kind of comes out in what we teach as well, because we want to pass on that message that we are one people.
I definitely remember the academics and the sports and the things that kind of the community things that were going on that made it a fun place to be. I think that what made Lancaster Mennonite special, though, is the kind of the family or community feel. I have a handful of friends that I met in early elementary school that are still my very closest friends, people that I talk to when things aren't going well, and also that I still love to hang out with.
What makes Lancaster Mennonite special is that I get to meet new friends.
Something that makes the student population unique is, I think, their commitment to just to loving each other, actually. I've seen a lot of interactions between students where harm might be done, but then an apology is made. Kids will look out for each other, like, oh, you need an eraser? Here, let me pass you one. I just see a lot of love. I see a lot of caring between students, and I think that's very unique.
We're kind of a microcosm of what the real world looks like. Students are used to working with students of different colors, different backgrounds, different economic statuses, that when they leave, they're used to it. It's not something new, and they can go out into the world and realize that they can be put into a situation where they're working with a diverse group of people and really thrive and flourish in ways that I don't think all students are prepared for when they leave 12th grade.
Lancaster Mennonite is proud to have 5 campuses, Hershey, Lancaster, Crable, New Danville, Locust Grove. The beauty of having a system is to offer each community the opportunity to start in a faith-based school and to feed up all the way through 12th grade. It's an opportunity to offer our broad array of educational program, athletics, fine arts, provide students the opportunity to flourish and become world changers. I'm really excited about the teachers that we have here at Lancaster Mennonite. The academics that they provide for our students are second to none in the region in the Lancaster County.
What makes LMH academically strong, I think, is that for the size of school that we are able to offer a lot of AP classes, and we have really good teachers dedicated to the students.
I think one of the most surprising things about Lancaster Mennonite, the thing that sets us apart, is this opportunity that we have to create a new kind of learning environment for students. Everyone knows that we live in this era of educational testing where everything is high stakes and you have to score a certain number on a test in order to either get funding or be a school that succeeds. And I think we don't need to do that, which allows us to engage students in opportunities that they're not afforded elsewhere simply because we don't have to teach to a test. We can have them doing service learning experiences. We can have them take an extra art class just because that's something that they desire to take. It creates a learning opportunity for students unlike any other.
We've kind of developed some flagship programs that allow students to kind of to work to their passions, to work to their strengths. And so if a student really wants to learn Spanish, we have the Spanish immersion program at Locust Grove.
Mi nombre es Marín y yo estoy en la clase de quinto grado. Cuando yo crece en adulto, yo quiero...
So, Spanish Immersion is a program that we start in kindergarten and it goes all the way through 8th grade. What I do is I basically teach a regular 3rd grade curriculum, except that I do it all in Spanish. So I teach reading in Spanish, I teach writing in Spanish, grammar, math we do in Spanish, science, social studies, all of that we do in Spanish. Students that come into the program typically do not speak Spanish at home. They only speak English at home. So in kindergarten, they do a lot of work of just learning a lot of vocabulary. But by the time they come to me, they really understand a lot. I speak to them all day in Spanish and they respond to me in Spanish when they can. But yeah, they actually know a lot of Spanish and it's pretty amazing to see how much they can learn just in a couple years. It's more than high school students. It's amazing to see the difference and just how quickly kids pick up another language.
If you're speaking Spanish in just one class, it's only going to be one class, and then the rest of the day you're going to just speak English. But when you go here in Spanish immersion, you're going to be speaking Spanish a lot more than you did in that one class. That's the only way you can speak it fluently.
We talk about Lancaster Mennonite being a school for world changers, and our Spanish immersion program is an example of how we put that into practice. This is how we prepare students. This is the holistic approach. To know more than one language says everything for brain development, but more importantly, it's how we're going to interact in our communities. Our world today is going to be multilingual, and we want our students to be multilingual as well.
I think there are several things that allow students to flourish through the educational system at Lancaster Mennonite. For those students who are more hands-on, we have project-based learning in middle school that infuses all of the subjects into themes.
Lancaster Mennonite Middle School, grades 7 and 8, started project-based learning about 3 years ago. The beauty of project-based learning is it provides that age group with an alternative way to learn. It's very hands-on, but it's also group dynamics. And in everyday life, no matter what we're doing, we're involved with working together with others. This is the work environment that we all find ourselves in. And the sooner we can teach our students how to incorporate those practices, a lot of it's psychosocial kinds of interaction, but students have an advantage if they've had to work in those experiences.
So since we do project-based learning, everything we do is supposed to help us with the future. So we're allowed to ask a teacher anytime in class, how is this going to help me with my future? How is this going to kind of help me be a better person? We get to kind of be creative and we get to kind of step out of the box and get to try new things.
I look forward to working with the students and teachers every day. It's fun to come into an environment where you know that kids enjoy being there and teachers enjoy teaching there. working in an environment that encourages kids to think differently, be creative. Be an engineer in middle school is an experience that not every middle schooler gets. And to want to get out of bed in the morning and come to middle school, which we hear parents say a lot about their kids, is a big deal.
We have programs like project-based learning, Spanish immersion, and we are only just beginning in those areas. So the teachers continue to work on building program and extending it and providing students with opportunities.
I think there's a lot of things that make Lancaster Mennonite special. The variety of programs that we offer. I think we have a lot of teachers who are invested and really go above and beyond when it comes to putting time into programs and giving time to the students and giving them the opportunity to embrace their gifts, but also just their interests.
I'd like to try to help build a STEAM program. And so my principal has been in communication with me about, okay, when can that happen? How can we do that? What resources do you need? And so I've really felt supported in that endeavor. When I started working here, I realized that a lot of my coworkers were really open to new ideas and were implementing all kinds of lesson plans and just new programs that were really sort of cutting edge and just really impressed me.
Last year, I was completing a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And as a result of that, I felt that there needed to be a new elementary music curriculum that could be of use to people all over. And I asked the students if they would help me. So we began by drawing pictures of animals or people with musical notation or symbols as a part of the drawings. In the summertime, I began to write stories about these characters. And so this year, I've been sharing these stories when I introduce a new music theory concept with them. And they get it now. There's a crab named Crescendo. They'll never forget that crescendo means getting louder in music because we know the story of Crescendo. They helped me write it. There's Adagio. He's a lazy alligator because Adagio means slow, kind of a walking. He's relaxed. And so little by little, as we play with these concepts, they are building lifetime understanding of them. And I look forward to working together with my students more on that.
This school provides this opportunity for half-day socials, which are like unheard of, where you give kids 2 hours where you're supervised, but you're allowed to be in the gym, you're allowed to be sitting with a friend. That kind of freedom, trusting students first instead of assuming that they're going to make the bad choice, assuming they're going to make a right choice, makes a huge difference. And that's something that I experienced here as a student, but didn't think about it in the same way as coming back here and still having half-day socials and having kids have those opportunities to feel like we trust you enough to provide you with this space to enjoy.
Coming to a school like Lancaster Mennonite allows every single student that walks through our doors to be treated as an individual. Our classrooms are driven by that individualization, and therefore what we teach to our children, we highly differentiate for every single child that we have. Teachers actually get to know the child and their learning styles to be able to help them in their educational experience and to be able to help them grow in the ways that they need to grow.
It's not uncommon to have unique ways of learning, and one of the things that teachers do is address auditory learners and verbal learners and kinesthetic learners.
One of the teachers that really has impacted me in this school is definitely Mr. Denlinger. Anytime I didn't understand things, because I do have a few disabilities. I've got reading disabilities and ADHD. He was always willing to read to me if I needed, or however I needed help, he would be there to help me. Along with if I needed something like a question on a test reworded because I couldn't understand it, he would do it.
As teachers, yes, we are charged to give content. We do want them to be masters. of the content that we have to share with them. But the way that they apply that in their lives is going to be very individual, and we're okay with that. That's okay. We'll make our assessments based on what we understand that student is capable of doing. If that student needs challenge, we'll give it. If the student just needs the next step up, we'll celebrate it. Learner-driven education is the idea that when you bring together learners, whether they're teachers, whether they're students, what you have is a collaborative mix of gifts and interests and ideas that together as a team you're stronger than if you would just have a traditional model of a teacher telling a student what to think, how to understand a particular concept.
So one of our practices is restorative justice. Principals and teachers will bring two parties together if there has been a disagreement and find alternative ways instead of a strict disciplinarian way of working with students. It's exciting to see students grow out of that.
When there is a problem, the students learn how to talk to each other and solve their problems. We start that in kindergarten using cards that have different ways to solve their problems. And so they don't need an adult to solve their problems, but they're learning how to communicate with their peers appropriately.
As a teacher, I'm not interested in sending my child to the principal's office. That's the traditional way to deal with errancy, but here we believe that everyone, including the victim as well as the offender, is created by God, is worthy of respect. There's a reason why they're acting out, there's a reason why there's a problem, and so we try to get to the bottom of what's wrong so that everybody can be healed. It could be very informal, it could just be a couple of children after class. Hey, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Can you talk to me about how you felt when this happened? And then when it becomes a more serious infraction, then we can move to a circle or some kind of more formal meeting. But always the intention is to bring healing.
When you walk the halls here, you will see students engaged in learning. It's not your typical classroom. Teachers are inviting conversation from students, inviting questions, and you're going to see independent growth, independent ownership of learning with students. They are coming to teachers, and teachers are facilitating what students want to learn. One of the beauties of Lancaster Mennonite is its fine arts program. Students have opportunity to participate both in theater, visual arts, other aspects of the arts. But the benefit of that is, as human beings, we are surrounded by the arts. It is how we express ourselves socially. It helps develop their own internal voice in who they are and how they express themselves when they go out to impact the world.
The thing that I get most excited about is the drama department, because I'm pretty involved in that, and that takes up a lot of my time, which I really love, and the people in it are awesome, and it's a whole lot of fun, and we get to work together to make something happen. It's fantastic.
So I decided to be an art teacher because, teaching because I wanted to interact with people and kind of share ideas and inspire students. And then art because it's so hands-on. And I feel like the best way to learn something is by being involved with it physically. And in art, you're definitely doing that. You're touching on math, science, language arts, all of that, but through a kinesthetic, bodily sort of way. And so you're really interacting with the content.
I was in a lot of extracurricular activities. I was in the choir in our school. I was in photography. I was part of our band in my freshman and sophomore year. Other than that, I was in a cappella, our a cappella group. I've been a part of many things because I love just getting out there. I've been given a lot more opportunities in my college now because of the opportunities that I've had here. I was part of county choir through this school and choir in general, and because of that, I'm in choirs in my college. And I've been given opportunities to act in my college because I've acted here for 5 years.
Something I appreciated about Lancaster Mennonite was, I think the way you're encouraged to try things. I'm not a good musician and I'm not a good artist, and I was encouraged to do both. That goes all the way back to my elementary school music teacher believed that everybody could sing if you just tried. And so she made us try, and we were in musicals, and we were always singing in music class. And that got me comfortable with it, even though I wasn't all that good. And that actually kind of persisted all the way to high school, because as I was a high school senior, my friends all joined a chorus, and once again, I was not a good musician, but I joined anyway and had a lot of fun doing it, even though it's not something I still do. It's something that I'm really glad I experienced that I had.
Here at Lancaster Mennonite, I think the students are great. I think what sets them apart, makes them special from my experience in teaching a few other places, is I think we have a lot of students who want to stretch themselves and challenge themselves. I'm reminded of a student who was one of my quieter students for sure, pretty shy, but I knew he played mandolin, and that was something that he cared a lot about, but I never heard him play it. And then I think it was his junior year, right at the end of the junior year, he decided to take the step to go up on stage and play, and I've never seen him more nervous. But even as the chapel went on, they did a couple songs, I saw him get more comfortable up there. A beautiful thing to watch a student embrace way outside of his comfort zone, this experience, and get better in that moment. And next thing I know, he was one of the most common people we saw, leading worship or whatever else. Started to go up to the mic and even speak what he was thinking and what he believed. I've seen that with a lot of students. That story comes to mind, but students trying a sport they never have before, you see it a lot. Students trying drama junior or senior year when they've never done it before. And the open arms that exist here to say, go ahead and give it a shot. We want to make room for you. You don't see that, I think, in every setting, but I think it distinguishes Lancaster Mennonite in a special way.
These are the skills that they take beyond Lancaster Mennonite. They have the opportunity to stand up and know who they are and speak for themselves and find the voice within themselves through the arts.
I believe that the co-curriculars are an extension of the educational process. Athletics plays a critical role toward helping prepare a student for life. They're going to learn a lot of lessons through athletics and through the team atmosphere and all the things that are required to be part of a successful team.
At our school, we have lots of sports teams that you can join, and a lot of our students are involved in things like that. I myself volunteer as the middle school assistant basketball coach, and not only does it bring me joy, but you can just see the students. It's a great outlet for them. They're growing spiritually through our athletic programs, and they're building, community with their peers on their teams.
I play field hockey, soccer, and basketball. And my favorite one's basketball.
I am involved in volleyball and basketball and softball, so a sport for each season. The way that I balance sports, teachers definitely have a big impact on that. So when you get out early to go to games or practice, then you miss a lot of the schoolwork. So coming in earlier after school, teachers are always saying that they'll be here, they'll help you out. So it's really nice to know that teachers are going to take time out of their schedule to make sure that you're learning your stuff that you're missing in class.
We have athletic programs that their records speak for themselves for sure, and we've got a state championship caliber soccer team, and we've got a basketball team that makes it far in playoffs every year. I think what I'm most proud of is when people come and watch us, whether we win or not, just the level of intensity and excellence that we bring almost always leaves people impressed.
1, 2, 3, Blazers!
I think we've been able to create an atmosphere of high expectations, and students come in with a high level of commitment. I think one of the things that they learn here at Lancaster Mennonite is the importance of the little things that are required in order for a team as a whole to be able to achieve something like a championship. That it's not about one person, or it's not just about a high level of skill, but there are a lot of other variables that you have to put into play in order for a team to be a championship team. The underlying thing that drives us on is to try to do the best we can with the talents that we've been given by God, and ultimately that in the end the championships and titles, those things are great to achieve, but it won't be the thing that defines us, but it'll be something that helps shape us, that hopefully will allow us to be champions in life.
We want those programs to be building up kind of a sense of growth for the students. So it's okay if you're not the best at it to be a part of it. You're adding something. We find a way to make sure that your qualities are adding to the whole. And that shows a willingness to actually work with the students no matter where they're at. But it also is, we believe we can build strong programs by tapping into the different kind of skills that maybe you're used to seeing. Give it a try. It'll be worth your while, and you'll gain something from it, and you will improve, and you won't be pushed away. I really enjoy the part of how are you personally invested in the team, and are you able to adjust for your teammates and be there for your teammates. Encouragement, but with also this sense of a clear common goal.
You can go to any sports program in the country and they're going to talk about teamwork and being a part of a team, and it's just what you do when you're with your team. Here, it's part of the fabric of who the school is, that teamwork isn't just something for the team that you're a part of. It becomes something that's a lifestyle because of what we believe in our faith. It's who we are. It's not just something that's for the team that we're a part of. I do feel like the coaches here are willing to not just talk about how to be a great athlete, but how to be a great person. They're going to teach the students where their faith and where Christ fits in with all of that. It's the whole person rather than just the athlete.
At LMH, we have diversity in a lot of different ways, especially with public schools. Everyone's from the same area. But with LMH, we have 20-some countries, I think, represented. So we have a whole host of viewpoints and opinions and nationalities. And one of the things that I think LMH offers that no high school really in the area does is just that experience.
We have had an international program at Lancaster Mennonite since the 1960s. It just brings such diversity to the school, and we already have diversity in our student population from our American students, but having kids coming from around the world just gives a very much global feel. We've seen a real increase in our international population over the past 10 years. It's been really exciting to help them to do well academically, to challenge them in the courses they take to prepare for college. A lot of them are coming from different cultural backgrounds, and incorporating that, it's been really educational for our American students too. It just makes LM a small representation of what the world is today.
My friends at other schools, they find it surprising for me to go to a school that's so diverse, with so many ethnic backgrounds and cultural backgrounds and everything. It gives me a lot of opportunities to understand what other people do in other cultures and appreciate the fact that I go to a school that has so many different cultures, and it's not just one background or one ethnicity that goes to just this school.
I think a big lesson I have learned is to listen first and not judge, because we have students coming from so many different cultures, and just being aware that they might take situations differently than what I would as an American, and that they've had different experience than I've had from where they're coming from. And it's been a growing experience even for me, and I see that for our American students too, and just learning about other cultures and what's appropriate and what's not, and just being open to learning something new. It's been really a growth for me, even as a staff member, to be able to find out about some of these countries that I've never been to, but yet just here in Lancaster I can learn about them because of the students that are coming to our school.
It's pretty cool because you're coming from a place where everybody's the same, and then
coming into a place where everybody's different, it just taught me like what the world would be like. And you get to know like different cultures and stuff and hear stories about where they come from, and then you share your story from where you come from, and it's just that cool interaction.
Lancaster Mennonite describes their students as world changers, and they are students who are interacting every day with a global, local, diverse group of students. So they're experiencing it on a daily basis here. They take what they've gained, both in the classroom and from interacting with, literally, students from all over the world. They are world changers in their communities because of what they've gained here.
So I think if I would run into a Lancaster Mennonite student or alum kind of out in the streets, out in the community, there would be some expectations, and one of those would be that that they have a better understanding of what it means to serve. What are they doing in their community to serve other people, to think about their neighbors before they think about themselves.
Something that I learned a lot about as Lancaster Mennonite was kind of the importance of service and the importance of being part of the community and also helping those who are less fortunate. That is a value that probably led me to my career choice and where I am now.
I became keenly aware of this notion that kids are world changers. Like, this is the group of people, if anyone's going to make a difference, it's kids. I think for me, I expect our students to be doing what they love, being able to be a change agent in a community organization around them, being a doctor, an engineer, a nurse, something that brings meaning to them and allows them to bring meaning to others is something that I would love to see in my students.
I expect from students who graduate from Lancaster Mennonite a sense or an ability to be reflective in new experiences and also prepared for a general culture of openness to conversation, a focus on service. I think all these things kind of culminate in an ability to adapt. I think the experience here at Lancaster Mennonite encourages that, encourages adaptation. Be yourself, right? But also be able to adapt to whatever is unique about that space and say, I'm here for others, not just necessarily for myself.
I would also expect that they would be kind of versed in like 21st century skills. They should be able to communicate well with people. They should be able to work well in groups. They should be able to go into a job setting and learn quickly and learn how to problem solve. We do a lot of work with what we call soft skills, and those are the skills that aren't always taught in all schools, but we feel it's really important that when students leave our system that they know how to interact with the 21st century world.
My hope and prayer for our graduates is that they would live like their Savior lived. Do I want them to be successful? Absolutely. Do I want them to be leaders in their community? Absolutely. But I want them, when an opportunity for forgiveness is available, I want them to be forgiving. When an opportunity for generosity is available, I want them to be generous. When an opportunity for grace is available, I want them to extend grace. I think more than anything else, they'll be leaders in their community if they're being servants like Jesus was a servant.
You see this in our alumni. They have gone beyond Lancaster and are world changers. And part of that is that holistic growth that they experienced here in a safe environment where they could grow and change and test who they are and how their voice develops and what they do in a vocation or passionately, if it's the arts or athletics. They take these things beyond here and impact the local community and local churches, but they will impact the world.